specifically on like womb wellness and healing our womb because
Yeah.
I'm looking around and a lot of women are not have like no connection with their womb whatsoever.
Yeah, let me lock this door because my baby boy just walked in and I know we're about to get into it. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, yeah. There's so many layers and so many dynamics. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just want to start off by even like, I'm not a gynecologist. I'm not like, an expert in that way. And there's still so much that I need to learn and
Yeah.
willing to learn, and that I'm actively like, constantly trying to upgrade my knowledge. So just want to even start off by saying that those of us who care enough to do some extra research, like even us, like many of us are coming from spaces where we're not connected at all. Where even terminology, right? Terminology, understanding
Right.
functionality, like the functions, and how like things can be individualized. Like you could learn all of that and still have like specific things to you, to your womb, to your like reproductive system, whatever. So
Yeah.
it's so many layers, and that's why it's frustrating for me too that it's like, where do you even start when it comes to womb health? Where do you even start? Because there's so much layers in this journey of learning and educating yourself.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a good point. I no, honestly, I'm really glad because I told myself when I start these things, these episodes now, I'm gonna get that disclaimer. I'm not a practicing medical
Right. Right. Like,
person. I'm not a practicing doctor. I'm
right.
not an OBGYN because you have to give those disclaimers
Right.
at
Right.
the beginning. This is not medical advice for
Right.
anyone,
It's
y'all.
not
This
medical.
is not medical advice. I am a woman who is very much passionate about women healing because I have experienced various things that led me down the path of healing myself holistically, naturally, so natural. This is naturopathic. Is that the word for it? Naturopathic, something like
Yeah.
that. All
There's
these
so
big
many
words. So, and I've learned so much. It's a lot more that I can learn. Like Tanya said, I'm still a student of life. There's always more that I'm learning. That's why um, I really enjoy this particular platform and this show because I get to learn from women like you and other women who are other people who will show up as guests on this show because I don't know everything. And I'm happy I don't know everything because if I did, I'd be bored. And I'd be big headed too if I knew everything.
right.
So I'm really glad to have you on here and have you just share your wisdom and your knowledge with us, and we can have this conversation with each other because that's a lot. That's a lot I want to get into.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I feel like you're the right person for this perspective. There's so many different layers, like you said, in perspective. And the spiritual side of womb healing and the spiritual implications, not just physically speaking, mentally as well, and spiritually, emotionally, all of that links into each other. And I feel like you got a really good grasp on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do. I love the way you have your business set up and the services that you provide, not only just with Yoni steaming and all the different herb mixes that you provide, but also the services, the consultation services of really getting deep down into the mental and the emotional state of a woman. I really enjoy that about your services. Yeah, it's really well rounded.
Oh wow. Thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for that. Um, there's so much I could say off of that, but I feel inclined to just introduce myself a little bit.
Oh, definitely. I
Um,
apologize. I should have asked you to do that earlier.
don't apologize. I get a free flowing, like organic vibe. So like how this unfolds, I'm sure it's like how it's intended to unfold. But
Yeah.
My name is Teinya, everyone. I go by Free. And, I do a lot, but specifically, I'm here because I'm a Yoni steam practitioner, as well as a yoga instructor. But I specifically focus on feminine health. I'm really interested in like how we even define a femininity. Um, but I make products, right? I make herbal products specifically for Yoni steaming. And Yoni steaming, I'm gonna just give a little background. Yoni steaming is like Sylvia was saying, it's a naturopathic way of connecting with your womb space, but also healing your womb space. So you're using natural herbs, you're steaming the herbs, and then you're finding a way to hover over the steamy potion, the steamy mixture of water and herbs and flowers. And there's so many herbs and flowers that you can use for Yoni steam, and so many different mixtures that you can create. But you find a way to hover over it, and you're taking in all these like essential nutrients from the herbs, from the steam. Like the steam is a conductor here. You know what I'm saying? Like the steam is the conductor, taking all those nutrients, taking all those benefits, and basically bringing it up to your womb. Um, yeah. So much more I could get into that. So that's that practice. I make the herbal mixture for that, as well as teas, and my mixtures can be used in baths as well. Because really, like, I'm in this to be accessible. Like, I'm not in this to be like a uppity, like mistake, like person, or to be like a overly. There's so many different trends in the holistic industry. So I'm really here to be accessible more than anything. And yeah, so that's the only steaming. And then the yoga part of it, I had the opportunity during the pandemic to get certified through a Black woman owned yoga company. And that was just an amazing experience for me. Because I told myself I'm not getting certified until I'm able to get certified by a Black woman. And so it took me a couple of years to even find the opportunity like I was able to get. And I was able to do it virtually and get a little bit of that cultural piece, a little bit of that trauma piece. And, so I mix yoga, I mix that Yoni steaming, to kind of have women have that moment to be like self-reflective, to be mindful of themselves, to learn more about their body. And both Yoni steam and yoga, um, they're also spiritual. Like they're physical things you can do, but they help to boost your spirits in so many ways because it's good for you. You're moving, you're breathing. When it comes to the herbs, you're not putting like harmful chemicals in your body. You're putting something you could go pick off a tree. You could grow yourself even if you wanted to. So I feel like when it comes to my vagina, when it comes to my pum pum, when it comes to my pussy, when it comes to that area, like give me the gentle options first and foremost. So, you know, that's why I do what I do. There's so much more to my story, even why I even started. I'm sure we'll get into it. Um, but yeah, that's
Yes. Actually, now that you say that, that segues into one of the questions I have written down for you. How did you get started into yoni steaming? Like, why did you choose this path?
oh yes. Thank you for asking that. I
Of
could all
course.
day. It's been a while since I've been able to really like. I've been in the space of remembering. I love to remember. So, Yoni treatment started for me. I had my first child back in 2018. And wow, your world changes. Your world changes after you have your first child. Doesn't matter how you birth. Doesn't matter how that baby got here. Once that baby gets here, your world changes. And I think there's so much that happens with your womb, with your vagina, with the just the rest of your body, your hormones, but specifically talking about the womb, right? Specifically talking about repair. I did not have like I didn't do the epidural. Um, you know, I went through it like really feeling just about everything. And, I did have some like physical trauma with my first child. Um, and I was looking for different ways I could heal my body other than like taking a prescription pill. you know, because they're gonna prescribe you these, like, they're gonna prescribe you these heavy pills after you go through like something as intense as childbirth. But I was like, okay, after these pills end, then what am I gonna do to like feel like myself again, feel comfortable again? There was so much going on with my body. I felt like there was so much going on. I don't know how deep I want to get into it, but there were literally physical changes. There were physical discomforts. And it was also affecting my mental as well. Oh, Naya. This is my friend Naya. Hey, Naya. Thank you for tuning in, girl. Yeah, they definitely did give some intense pills. After some intense pills, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm oxycodone, you know, they give really intense pills, and as a person that knows a little bit about some stuff, you know, I'm like, this is not something I even want. Like, I didn't even feel comfortable like using all of them, because I'm like, this is a lot for my body. So you know, going through all these changes and wanting to be able to continue my healing journey without having to go to the doctor or take pills, I was like, I need to find something. And being on Instagram, I've tried to make it so that my news feed is, you know, things that I like. And I would see the different women doing Yoni steaming and looking so peaceful and looking like they're just having the time of their life. So I was like, this is what I'm going to do, because it's going to help my vagina and it's going to help my mental, you know? And all I had, girl, was a plastic garbage bin. All I had was a plastic garbage bin. I didn't have anything, no type of like fancy setup. I had a plastic garbage bin. I had a heat resistant bowl, and I poured my herbs in there. I sat on my plastic bin for 30 minutes. I did the best research I could, and it was such a great experience. The moment the steam hit my body, I was like, yo, where has this been my whole life? You know? And then and I'll be done after this, I went to speak to my mom about it, because I'm like, yo, this was a great experience.
I'm sorry, Teinya. I don't mean to cut you off. Just continue. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay. So I went to speak to my mom about this great thing I had experienced, and she was like, oh, yeah, I know about that. My grandma used to do that. I'm like, you mean to tell me that your grandmother was doing this with you after you had your children, you know, and you didn't find it necessary to keep that like a tradition, or you didn't find it necessary to share that information on, you know? But like, she had to remember too. She had to remember why her grandma was doing these things. She had to remember why, like, what was even going on in the first place. So after I found out, I just wrote a poem about that. What did you write a poem about, Naya? Hello. Sylvia will be right back. She's taking a little break, but we're here discussing womb health. We're here discussing vaginal health, but also how that pertains to the mental. Naya says, about how our elders lost a lot of tradition. Yeah, Naya. Our elders lost a lot of the traditions, and it's crazy because they lose the traditions to come and accept somebody else's tradition, who literally, those traditions do not help their bodies at all. Back in the day, we used a lot of natural resources. Yeah, we used a lot of natural resources, and you know, it's unfortunate because a lot of us was using those resources because we had no other choice. But then to find out years later that a lot of the stuff in the medicine, they're actually researching natural remedies now. You know, a lot of the stuff in these medicines are coming from plants, are coming from trees. They told us that these natural things were savage-like, right? There's a lot of savagery like attached to that. But yet they're here researching the very same things and making profit off the very same things that our ancestors got demonized for, you know? My aunt just told me they used to go into the woods to find medicine for their monthly and birth. Yes. Yes. And you're not the first person to say like, hey, my aunts did this, my grandmas did this, you know? But what I was saying, Sylvia, I was saying how after I Yoni steam, I told my mom about it, and my mom was like, "Oh, my grandma used to do this," just like stuff like, "Oh yeah, she used to do this. She used to have us sit over it." She told me that after they gave birth, they would also get the herbal baths, like have the herbs splashed all on their bodies. She also told me she would wrap them after as well. So my grandmother was like here doing this work for women in her family, for women within the community. So I felt like, oh wow, like me finding Yoni steaming and it's so great for me. Turns out that this is a practice that like my ancestors were doing. So I
Yeah.
really connected to it. Like when I started, it was ancestral. I was like, I'm pulling in from ancestral knowledge. I'm pulling in from like current knowledge. And you know, I didn't really feel understood. I still sort of don't feel understood all the way. But I don't really know why I'm trying to be understood. But at the same time, I do want people to understand, you know, that this is not just something for a specific type of person. Like if you have a vagina, if you have a body, if you want to be more mindful, you know, it's something to look into, it's something to try. If we can take birth control pills and we can take UTI pills and yeast infection pills and all the different pills, right? What's so scary about trying a little bit of natural steam and some herbs and some flowers?
It's a good question. It's really interesting. People are really afraid of herbs.
Yes, yes.
Like really. And it's like wow, the number that was done on society mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Because even in America, um, people used to use herbs in America.
Mm-hmm.
Like white families, black families, natives, the natives especially, they were on that. They're still on that herb life. The ones who are mostly still connected to their roots, especially. But everybody used to use herbs. Nobody, it wasn't a thing for people to go to the doctor for every little thing. I remember I was doing some research because I wanted to see when that shift happened. And I just find it so interesting that it went from everybody growing their own herbs in their backyard, like in their garden. Everybody had their own personal herbal garden, you know, and they have their own. The medicine cabinet looked completely different from what the medicine cabinet is now. But now the medicine cabinet is just pills, and it's really difficult to convince somebody to use herbs or do a nasal steam or drink a tea. They look at you like you peddling some some illegals.
What type what type
I'm not peddling illegals. This is
of evils are you bringing to me here?
right. I'm
Oh,
like, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm just not gonna say anything
I'm
anymore.
like,
It's really
you're really calling this thing that grows out of the earth evil?
God made it.
You know what I mean? If we're getting technical like that, you're really calling something the most natural, you know, connected to us. You're calling that thing evil. And yeah, you know, but that's why I'm at a point within um my business where, you know, I'm getting back to remembering why it is I even started doing what I did in the first place, and just like allowing the universe to really pull my target audience in because, you know, Pum Pum Powa is not just a business for me. Pum Pum Powa came out of a space where I was pulling in from like that womb energy. I was tapping in so much to my womb because I had just had a baby, and I was connect back with myself and reconnect back with my femininity because it all felt so upside down after I had a baby. Honestly, my whole life was so upside down. And then, you know, our womb space, our vaginal space, it's an ecosystem. It's not like it's the labia and that's it. It's not like it's the lips and that's it. It's a whole ecosystem outside and inside. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, having a child and, you know, being a person who I'm very spiritual. I'm in tune with my mental. I'm a sensual person because I like to be in tune with my senses, with my mind, with my body, my whole being, you know. Um yeah, Yoni's theme was, felt like, okay, this can cover all those things, you know. Um so yeah, what more questions do you have for me?
Um, so it's so interesting that, before I get to the question, it's so interesting that you said, I remember in the past you mentioned your grandmother was a Yoni steam practitioner, and she's basically like a doula and a midwife, helping pregnant women or mothers to be give birth. And I just find it so, the process of you rediscovering that path magical, because you literally tapped into ancestral knowledge intuitively without being led there by anyone. And that's like the beauty that I see with a lot of people who choose natural healing. They experience something, and
Very.
it's like a catalyst, and they remember, you know, and memory is brought back up, and then they go about following these steps that at first they may not know that this is ancestral knowledge that they're tapping into, an ancestral memory. But then you look back and you realize that, oh, I'm not the first person. It was lost at a certain time, but you are literally rebirthing something that's already been in your family, like giving it new life, so that it can help women. It's this type of work is so important and very underrated, but I really admire midwives, doulas, anyone who does like womb work, because just being a woman is already, it's a lot. You know, it's a lot. Now in this day specifically, especially, it's a lot because we have to deal with all these toxins, and it's in the food, it's in the menstrual products, it's in the tampons, it's in the pads, it's in the soaps. 90+% of the food in the store are not actually food. They're just like toxic waste waiting to throw off your system.